All right, so are you ready for the Super Bowl?
I know I
It's
am.
going to be a good one.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be a good one. Rematch, Super Bowl 57.
We're going to do a deep dive into the Chiefs and the Eagles.
Absolutely.
And we've got a great article here from CBS News that's going to help us break down this matchup.
Awesome.
And we're not just going to tell you who we think is going to win.
Yep.
We're going to figure out, like, what are the factors that could decide the game?
Right, like what are the things that are really at play here?
Exactly. What should you be looking for while you're
Okay.
watching?
Yeah. I mean, this is a rematch, right? So Super Bowl 57 was a nail-biter.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's going to be interesting to see if it plays out kind of the same way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about some fun things like, do the stats actually support the whole jersey color thing?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, does it really matter?
We'll get into that.
We'll dive in.
Let's start with, well, just like what are the odds makers saying?
Sure.
The Chiefs are slight favorites.
Yep.
Just by like 1.5 points.
Yeah.
But the over-under is pretty high.
It is.
48.5 points.
Which means Vegas thinks it's going to be a high-scoring game.
For our listeners who maybe aren't as into the sports betting side of things,
Right.
can you explain what those terms mean and what they tell us about how the game might actually go?
Sure. So the point spread, it's really designed for betting.
Right.
Right. It's supposed to even out the playing field a little bit.
Okay.
So you can bet on either team and still have, theoretically, a 50-50 chance.
Okay.
So that 1.5 points, it means that Vegas sees this as a really close game, basically a toss-up.
Yeah.
As for the over-under, that's the total points scored in the game.
Okay.
By both teams. So 48.5, that's high. It means that Vegas thinks that we're going to see a lot of offense, a lot of touchdowns. It could be a shootout.
So it's interesting because the Chiefs, they finished the regular season with a 15-2 record, but they didn't blow everyone out.
Yeah.
They had some close games.
Yeah.
The Eagles, on the other hand, they finished 14-3, but they kind of consistently covered the spread.
Right.
Does that tell us anything about how these two teams approach the game?
Well, the Eagles covering the spread like that, it means they're a very consistent team.
Okay.
Right. They execute well.
All
They
right.
don't make a lot of errors.
Mm-hmm.
They might not always win by a ton, but they're always in it.
Yeah.
Whereas the Chiefs,
Yeah.
they're explosive. They're exciting.
Right.
They can score a lot of points.
Uh-huh.
But they also tend to have more of those like closer, nail-biting games.
Okay, yeah.
So I think this game could come down to, which team can really just stay composed
Yeah.
under pressure.
And that kind of brings us to Super Bowl 57,
Yeah, it does.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
The Chiefs were down at halftime.
Right.
Mahomes was playing on that sprained ankle. And they pulled off this amazing comeback.
They did. It was incredible.
What were some key takeaways our listeners should remember about that game?
Well, the final score was 38-35.
Oh, yeah.
That tells you right there how close it was.
Right.
Right. And one thing that's really interesting is it's the same quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So Mahomes, obviously, for the Chiefs, and Hurts for the Eagles.
Right.
And it's the same coaches.
Oh, wow.
Andy Reid, Nick Sirianni.
Interesting.
So they know each other.
Right. Yeah.
They know the playbooks. They know the tendencies. So I think that adds a whole other level of strategy to this game.
Absolutely. And it adds a layer of they've been here before.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like they know what this feels like.
The pressure is on.
So Super Bowl 57, full of drama.
Oh, yeah.
But one of the moments that really sticks out for me and probably for a lot of fans is that holding call on the Eagles in the final minutes. It's still being debated.
It is. It was definitely a turning point. Right.
It felt like a really big moment.
Yeah. And I think the fact that people are still arguing about it 2 years later just goes to show how close that game was and how, one play can really change everything.
So speaking of the Eagles.
Yes.
This is a team that is hungry for a win.
Oh, yeah.
Their only Super Bowl victory was back in 2018.
Right.
Which was an upset against Tom Brady.
It was.
Of all people.
They took down the goatee.
And the funny thing is that Brady is actually going to be the commentator for Fox for this game.
Oh, wow. That's a great little bit of irony there, right?
I know. I love it. It's like the football universe has a sense of humor. And here's another little fun fact.
Okay.
The Eagles' last Super Bowl loss, which was back in 2005, was against Andy Reid.
Oh, wow.
Who is now the head coach of the Chiefs.
Talk about history repeating itself.
I know. Right.
That is wild.
It's crazy how these things work out sometimes.
It is.
Okay. This is where things get a little weird.
Okay.
The jersey color.
All right. Let's hear it.
So teams wearing white jerseys
Yeah.
have won 16 out of the last 20 Super Bowls.
Really?
It's wild.
That is a crazy stat.
I mean, it's kind of a statistical anomaly.
It is.
But it's hard to ignore.
Yeah. I mean, 16 out of 20, that's 80%.
Like, is there something to this?
I don't know. It's hard to say.
Or is it just a complete coincidence?
I mean, some people say it's superstition, right?
Right.
But the numbers are kind of hard to argue with.
Yeah.
And this year, the Eagles, they chose to wear their green jerseys.
Which means the Chiefs will be in white.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we make of this?
I don't know. It's definitely interesting.
It's really strange.
It's going to be fun to see if it, plays a role in the game.
I don't think it's going to, decide the game.
No.
But who knows? Maybe there's something to it.
Right. Maybe it's a mental thing.
Maybe it's just a little edge.
Maybe.
That the Chiefs get.
It's possible. I mean, sports are full of these weird little quirks.
They are.
And who knows? Maybe this is one of them.
And it's not like the Eagles haven't played in green before.
Right. Exactly.
But maybe, with all the hype of the Super Bowl and all the history and everything, maybe it just adds one more little thing.
Yeah, maybe it just adds to the pressure.
It's the pressure.
They're already facing the Chiefs. They're already facing history.
Right.
And now they've got this weird jersey color stat hanging over their heads.
Exactly.
It's a lot to handle.
It's a lot to handle.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got this close matchup on paper.
We do.
Historical echoes everywhere.
Everywhere you look.
And even the color of their jerseys is adding to the intrigue.
It's shaking up to be a great game.
It really is. I'm so excited.
Me too.
So, what do you think? What's going to be the deciding factor in this game?
Oh, man. That's a tough one. I mean, I think it's going to be really close. But if I had to pick one thing, I'd say it's going to come down to which team can handle the pressure better.
Right.
Both of these teams have something to prove.
They do.
The Chiefs, they want to make history, win their third Super Bowl in a row.
Right.
The Eagles, they want to avenge that loss from 2 years ago.
Absolutely.
So I think the team that can stay focused, stay calm, and execute their game plan when it matters most, that's the team that's going to win.
And that's what makes it so exciting.
Exactly.
It's like, who's got that mental edge?
Right. It's going to be fascinating to watch.
It really is. So, listeners, keep all this in mind when you're watching the game on Sunday.
Yeah. Pay attention to the details.
See if you notice these factors at play.
And most importantly, enjoy the show.
It's going to be epic.
It is.
It's kind of crazy to think that the color of their jerseys could actually matter.
I know, right?
But it's the Super Bowl.
It is.
Every little thing gets analyzed.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, but before we get too lost in the whole jersey color thing,
right,
I want to go back to the Eagles for a second.
Sure.
Their last Super Bowl loss back in 2005 was against Andy Reid.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Who's now coaching the Chiefs.
Exactly.
I mean, talk about some tangled storylines.
It's wild. I mean, Andy Reid's history with both teams.
Right.
It adds a whole other layer to this game.
It does.
Yeah. I mean, you could argue that it puts a little extra pressure on him.
I mean, definitely.
And on the Eagles, too.
On the Eagles?
Yeah. They're going to want to prove that they can win without him.
Yeah.
And he's going to want to show them what they're missing.
Right.
It's almost like a revenge game for both sides.
Like a football soap opera or something.
It kind of is.
And speaking of traumatic moments.
Yeah.
That controversial holding call from Super Bowl 57.
Right.
I mean, it shows how quickly things can shift in a game like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that one play
right.
could have changed the entire outcome.
Exactly.
And I think that's something that both teams are going to be very aware of this time around.
Right. They know that every single play matters.
Yeah. Every snap counts.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk quarterbacks.
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts for the Eagles.
Two amazing quarterbacks.
What are your thoughts on their playing styles?
Sure.
And how they match up against each other?
Well, Mahomes, he's already considered one of the greats.
Oh, yeah.
Right? He's got that incredible ability to just improvise, to make those crazy throws.
Oh, I know. He can see the whole field.
Right. And he's got that arm, man.
I know. I've seen him make throws that I swear should be impossible.
He makes it look so easy.
It's amazing.
He's a game changer.
But let's not forget about Jalen Hurts.
Right.
I mean, he's a dual threat.
He is.
He can throw the ball.
Yep.
He can run the ball.
I mean, he really led the Eagles offense this year.
Yeah, he's a real leader. He's
Right.
got that, that combination of accuracy and power.
Yeah, he's not afraid to take off and run for a first down if he needs to.
Yeah, that's for sure. And that's what makes him so dangerous.
Right.
Defenses, they never know what he's going to do.
Exactly.
And that just makes him so tough to defend.
Okay, so we've got these two awesome quarterbacks going head-to-head.
Yep.
We've got all this history between these two teams.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got the jersey color thing.
The jersey color.
I mean, this Super Bowl is going to be amazing.
It really is. It's got all the makings of a classic.
I'm so excited.
I know, me too.
What are you most looking forward to?
I'm really interested to see the coaching battle.
The coaching battle.
Yeah. Andy Reid versus Nick Sirianni.
Okay. Yeah.
They're both great coaches.
Right.
They're both really smart, and they're both really good at making adjustments during the game. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how they try to outsmart each other.
I mean, it's like a chess match almost.
It is. It's like, who can make the right move at the right time?
Yeah.
Who can anticipate what the other team is going to do?
Okay, so before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Sure.
what advice would you give to our listeners?
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I would say pay attention to the details.
Pay attention to the details.
Yeah. Don't just watch the ball.
Okay.
Look at the players. Look at the formations. Look at the play calling.
Okay.
Try to see the little things that are happening that might not be obvious at first.
Yeah.
And, soak it all in.
Soak it all in.
Yeah. It's the Super Bowl.
It is.
It's the biggest game of the year. Enjoy the atmosphere. Enjoy the energy. It's a special event.
Absolutely.
So just, have fun with it.
Okay, so welcome back to our Super Bowl deep dive.
Part 3.
We've talked about the odds. We've looked back at Super Bowl 57. We've talked about those crazy jersey colors.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride.
It has. So now let's get into the actual game itself.
Okay, yeah.
What are some of the key matchups that you're going to be watching closely?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, for me, one of the biggest ones is going to be the Eagles' offensive line versus the Chiefs' defensive front.
Okay.
Especially, Chris Jones.
Chris Jones.
He's a beast.
He is.
And the Eagles' O-line is one of the best in the league.
Right.
So that's going to be a battle.
It is.
Whoever wins that battle in the trenches, that's going to have a huge impact on the game.
Oh, I like that. The battle in the trenches.
Yeah, right.
What about on the Chiefs' side?
Good question. Well, for me, I think it's going to be Travis Kelce.
Travis Kelce.
The Chiefs tight end. I mean, he's amazing.
He is.
Practically unstoppable.
Right.
And he's going up against Darius Slay,
Okay.
who's, one of the best cornerbacks in the league.
He is.
So if Slay can shut down Kelce, that could be a huge advantage for the Eagles.
Yeah, because if you can shut down Kelce,
Right.
that's a big deal.
That takes away one of Mahomes' biggest weapons.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not just about physical talent.
No.
It's also about strategy.
It is. It's about anticipating what the other team's going to do.
Uh-huh.
It's about, who can make the right adjustments at the right time.
And the coaches are going to be huge in that.
Absolutely.
Andy Reid and Nick Sirianni.
Yep. It's going to be fascinating to see how they approach this game, what kind of game plan they come up with.
Yeah. So we've talked about the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
We've talked about the history.
Huh?
We've even talked about the color of their jerseys.
The jersey color.
I mean, there's a lot going on in this game.
There is. It's going to be an exciting one.
It really is. So with all that in mind,
Mm.
what do you think is going to be the deciding factor?
Ooh, man. If I had to pick one thing, I think it's going to be mental toughness.
Mental toughness.
Yeah. Both of these teams have been here before. They
Right.
know what it's like to win a Super Bowl.
Ah,
They also know what it's like to lose one.
true.
And I think, in a game like this, when the pressure's on,
Right.
when the stakes are so high, it's the team that can stay focused,
Yeah.
that can stay calm, that can execute their game plan. That's the team that's going to win.
I love that. The mental game.
The mental game is huge.
Yeah. And you can really feel it when you're watching too, right?
Absolutely. You can feel the intensity. You can feel the pressure. You can see it on the players' faces.
Yeah. All right. Well, that about wraps up our Super Bowl deep dive.
Awesome.
Thanks for joining us on this journey as we broke down this epic matchup.
My pleasure.
Now it's time to sit back, relax, and enjoy the game.
Yep. Grab some snacks.
Pay attention to the little details.
See if you notice those key matchups.
And see if that white jersey advantage holds true once again.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be epic. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Enjoy the game.